Oh, marathon recording today. Marathon. So, I would say what I'd like to talk about now is something that I've been experiencing for the last couple of weeks, and that is young people. By young, I define that as being 18 and above, but under the age of, let's say, 40. I am just over 40. So I'm making a clear line in the sand. Under 40, you're young. What happened? Did y'all forget how to be good to other people? Where I used to work, the age I am now was kind of the average age. And I found there was an attitude of professionalism that existed in the company because people were mature. People showed up to meetings on time. If they couldn't make it, they messaged. People were at work from the classic 9 to 5. People operated during business hours. And they left you alone afterwards. People understood family obligations. Where I work now, people are much younger. They're very friendly. They're very kind. And it's not really about the people at my company by any stretch. It's more kind of the stuff that I've seen going down in general. But I was always told, starting with work, that if you're going to leave a position at a company professionally, and it is for the sake of the employer, but it's for your own sake of decorum and manners, you give 2 weeks of notice at a minimum. You say, yes, I've accepted another position. That is perfectly within your right, but you know what? I understand that the thinking in behind is I understand that this is going to leave you in a bit of a position to have to replace me, so I'm going to give you 2 weeks to figure that situation out, especially now that it's super hard to hire people. People leave and they give, 3 days notice. It's how unprofessional do you need to be? I know that we've all been bombarded with these messages about, and these stories and these news articles about companies doing terrible things, and they're all true. Look at what's happened lately. Boeing can't seem to make a plane that doesn't have parts fall off of it because they're so worried about making sure that they maximize their profit on each sale that they're cutting corners on quality. Another story for another time, perhaps. But the average small company that many of us work at, if you work for a big company that treats you like a number, I would understand this behavior more. Like a Bell Media, like a Rogers Media, like a AT&T, a Comcast, where you're just one of thousands of people. I can understand the frustration, the disillusionment, the being treated like a number, and then feeling like they wouldn't care if you died. I get it. That is the world of big corporate. Okay, it's not the world I've really ever worked in much. Maybe when I was very young, I got exposed a little bit to it in the banking world, and I didn't like it. And I did it in the audit world. I was treated a little bit better there, but again, huge audit firm. I mean, I get not liking being part of the big machine. Some people do like it. There's a very big comfort in being part of a huge team and having a lot of support and people around you. But the general small company where you're working in a team of 3 or 5 or 10, and those 10 people are the entire department of that function for the company, and you leave with 2 days notice, I mean, you're basically saying to the 9 other people, I don't really care that this is screwing you over. I don't. I know you're going to have to pick up the slack for me for like a month while, people scramble to figure out how to replace me or to divide up my workload. But, me, you, I don't care. Should you make decisions that are best for you? Absolutely. But should you do it at the expense of everybody else? That's what I think is kind of the crux of what I want to get to. And I guess I've gotten to it. And you guys know that I don't write anything for this, and I just talk off the top of my head, which is why we do this, and which is why 4 people are subscribed to this, because it's just chaos of me talking into a sonic butt plug. But there has been a total loss of consideration for others. That's the problem with young people. They will prattle on and on about the environment, about the rights of people with different sexualities, different religious beliefs, and different cultures, and all of that is great. I love that we're being a more progressive and inclusive world. I love that we're thinking about the world, that we're not just being ExxonMobil and dumping shit in the ground and throwing shit in the air and burning the world for the sake of a buck. I love it. I love that people are more conscious about the social implications of the decisions we make. I love that we are trying to, on a macro scale, help each other. That's what we're saying that we're doing. But what's happening at a grassroots level is utter selfishness. And that's why it's not working at the macro level. Because we're saying that we need to fix everything from the top down, but from the bottom up, we're not showing any leadership. Everybody is just the most selfish people ever. And I get that the baby boomers were completely selfish. They racked up national debt. They cut taxes for themselves. They drove up the price of housing. They lowered trade barriers such that corporations offshored jobs, and they did everything to make sure that they got the most bang for their buck. But they worked together. When my parents grew up, you knew your neighbor. You knew your community. You went to church. You knew the people at the grocery store. You can yell a lot of things about boomers, but the one thing you can't fault them for is they knew the people around them. Now, granted that they got real scared when people with different accents and different colored skin and different lifestyles showed up in their neighborhoods, then they really clammed up. It was a lot easier to have this big sense of community when everybody was homogamous or homologous. Fuck, I need another Coulter. It was a lot easier for people to do it back then, and it wasn't a good easy. It wasn't better because it was easy. The world was more isolated. But you would have thought we would have tried to keep that sense of community going. And you hear it from the better politicians, and that's a very dubious term, all the time now. Why don't you think government can get anything done? And you see these people go, because nobody gives a crap. Nobody votes. Nobody tries. Nobody's involved. Everybody screams that they want us to do all these things, but nobody's bringing this up. So, of course, the guy's going to go for the easiest route to re-election. He doesn't give a shit. Nowadays, I actually do know some of my neighbors on my street. And I'm proud of that fact. And it actually keeps me living in a house that I feel I'm outgrowing, even though I live by myself because I buy too much Lego and I don't know where to put it, and I have a video game collection I want to display and all this stuff. I would like a bigger house. But what's keeping me here is I actually like and know my neighbors. If I was really up a creek, there are at least 4 houses I could show up to and ask for help. On my street. That's community. Nowadays, they're throwing up skyscraper buildings with these 20-somethings that live in it, and they live literally within farting distance of 200 other people, and none of them know each other. It's wild. Wild. Make a better world. Be more inclusive, but leave me alone the entire time. It's insane. I'm going to work in a job. I'm going to make sure that I never actually have to go to the office. I never interact with anybody. I'm going to scream about inclusion. I'm going to scream about all these social issues. But when it comes to giving professional consideration when I depart, I'm going to give you 3 days. I don't get it. Like, is there something, again, for you guys a few episodes ago, for me like an hour and a half ago, I talked about dating and these one-word answers. Like, people don't know how to speak. Or they don't want to. And they think they're going to find some sort of connection. Am I the crazy? Yes, I am the crazy one. Of course I'm the crazy one. I obviously missed the memo on something. Somewhere where we were able to have a sense of community, belonging, inclusion, involvement, and yet we could do that by just not even talking on Facebook, just being friends on Facebook somehow. That made it that the connection was complete, that there was an active relationship. Lots of people on Facebook I don't talk to. And I'm bad at communicating. I will say, even at my age, I was never the best communicator. I was never the best at staying in touch. But when I did contact you, I talked. I asked how you were. I asked how you're doing. How's your life? How's your family? If you have kids, how's the kids? How's work? Check in with you. One thing I always make sure to ask is, forget the work, how are you? You in all this, because you are not all the other things. They're part of your life, but they're not you. I feel like if I were to ask a 20-year-old that today, I'd be charged with sexual assault, and I'd be standing 10 feet away, asking, how are you? Oh, that's a little too close. That's a little too personal. I try to pick activities. I know my martial arts training definitely keeps me involved, and that's a big part of why I chose the school that I went to. I could have gone to a gym where there are guys. First of all, I'm too old to be mixing it up with a bunch of 20-somethings that are training to be MMA fighters. I'm too small, I'm too bald, I'm too frail, I'm too old, I'll get my head ripped off. It'll take 3 weeks before I'm in a hospital, and then I wouldn't be able to go back anyway. I'm glad I found a school with people more my age at my speed. But I also picked my school because they had a very strong opinion on community, family, being involved, being there for each other, and being supportive. And I keep saying it every time somebody asks me about it. I felt that the minute I walked in the door 8 years ago. There was a sense of belonging there, that they were welcoming. You don't get that many places anymore. If people want a sense of fulfillment that doesn't involve some sort of drug, alcohol, or sexual deviancy, why don't they just try talking to their neighbor? You may find something interesting there that doesn't involve putting something up your butt and then selling the picture online. I'm just saying.